Hello, this is Joe with Jamco Controls, and I'm taking time out to make a video or a series of videos to show Niagara integrators how to connect to SQL Server. Um, if time permits me, I'll even show Niagara integrators how to connect to SQL Server that's been encrypted with an SSL certificate. Um, right now, we're just going to do a real quick and easy um, installation of SQL Server. I think the most important thing, though, is to show you how to install SQL uh, so that Niagara can connect to it um, and really simplify it. So I've chosen SQL Server 2022. I use the developer edition because it's got a lot of free features that Express doesn't have. But you can use Express just fine. Uh, Express is always free. Um, so from here, do not select basic because the basic will not install a named instance. Use the custom, and it's already found the download and all that. So I'm just going to click install. So we don't need a plan. We know we can um, use it. Go straight to installation and new SQL Server standalone installation. It always takes a few minutes to get this started. And it's popped up behind there doing its checks. All right. So the first thing is to ask you is specify a free edition because I did download the developer. Now I could go Express or I could go developer or I could even do the evaluation. The evaluation I think is I want to say it's 30 days, but you could do Express or developer, either one, just for testing. Express works fine for your instance with Niagara um, for holding those trends that I get customers a lot of times that need energy data and stuff that's longer than 2 years, and especially a big customer, one of those systems with a 150,000 points or something, and they need their trend data for a couple of years. SQL is the best place to put it, but I'm going to use developer. Accept that license and uncheck the Azure extensions. You don't need that. And right here, the only thing you need is the database engine service. That's the only thing you need. Um, this is important right here. You could go default, and it's going to give you a default name. I always name the instance. I name it something to distinguish it from other instances that I might have running or might have installed. And that should populate that name. Go next. This is important here. You want the browser to be automatically running. You don't have to have the agent running, but the browser and the database engine both automatic start. The reason you want the browser to automatically start is back in Niagara, I don't know, 4.12. I don't know exactly when it was, but they chose to start using the browser, uh, the method for finding the port or for communicating with the SQL Server that supported. The long and the short of it is you don't have to lock in your port. Like, the default port was 1433 for communicating with SQL Server. Now, of course, you could change that, and it would stay that whatever you change it, 2000, whatever you change it to, it'd stay that forever. But what SQL does now is if you don't lock in the port, it every time the instance is started or restarted, it changes the port that it's communicating on. And the SQL Server browser is how Niagara knows to get that port. So automatic and automatic. This is the biggie. Always go mixed mode. I say always. Niagara allows Windows authentication now, but I think there's a lot of setup that a lot of systems integrators aren't doing. It requires a lot of IT help, and there's a lot of things that you can do, but you really need some IT support in that. We systems integrators don't get those accounts very often. We have one account where we have a lot of IT support, or two accounts. Most of the stuff we do, we are the IT. So go mixed mode and give that SA, systems administrator account, a password. And remember that SA, that's the systems administrator account, and that's always, if you go mixed mode, that is always there um, in SQL. Now, IT, if you do have some IT, they may want you to drop that SA account because everybody that knows SQL Server knows it has an SA account. So, but for right now, just leave it. I always add current user myself because I'm always an admin on the machine, and that allows me to use a Windows login when I'm using SQL Server Management Studio or something like that. Go next. Now this just tells you what all it's going to install and what all is already there. And choose install. Now this normally takes about 10 minutes. All right, we're back. It didn't take 10 minutes. It only took about 4.5 minutes. And it said it succeeded, both the writer and the database. And we'll just click close there and close that. Now, I already have a link to this SQL Server 2022 Configuration Manager, but I'll show you where that is in your apps because you need to take a look at a couple of things. Well, right there. That's a MMC snap-in anyway, so all right. Right there under services, we have both the browser and then this one, yep, is just the engine running. So we have the browser and the engine running, but we need to look at something here, and that's the protocols for that. You can see I have two instances. The protocols for SQL Server 2022 Dev. Now, we need TCP IP enabled. So it's going to have to be restarted before that takes place. But while we're here, I want to look at the IP addresses. This has a lot of different IP connections on it because this is my laptop. If you were in a production environment, you would only have one, two, maybe three or four at the most here, and you would more than likely just select the one that you're going to be using and make sure that was on, and you would make sure everything else was inactive. Um, I'm not going to do that here. I'm not in a production environment. I'm behind my own firewall. Um, Not to mention, I'm not going to be reaching out from this machine to another machine to connect to SQL Server. It's all local. One of my IPs would be the 127, the loopback right here. These two are loopbacks. This is the V6 loopback, and this is the regular V4 loopback or local host. This is where if I wanted it to talk on a particular port, I would put it right here, 1433, for instance. I don't. I'm going to leave that right there as 0. I'm not going to put anything in there. And this is going to talk on a dynamic port. I'm going to use just dynamic ports. It's going to change every time. That port is going to change every time I connect to it, or every time the instance is restarted, I should say. I go OK here. And now it's told me to that name pipes can stay disabled. A lot of people enable name pipes, but it's really only a Win32. That's only for the Win32 SDK. So it's not really important for what we're doing. You can leave that disabled. It did tell me to restart that engine. So right here, you just restart. Now you could have done this in services as well, because that's all that's doing is restarting that service. But it's easy to do that right here in the configuration manager. Snap in. And there it is. All right, that's the end of this video. And when we come back, we'll set up a database in SQL Server and a user, and get it ready to accept a connection from Niagara.